were walking down there and we sat on the stairs in Damascus. And there's 2 big trees on either side of the gate. And I remember thinking, those trees are there. They've gotten, the old blood and bone in the soil. How many?
Well fertilized.
How many piles of bodies have thrown themselves against those gates to try and take Jerusalem in the day, and that's what that soil is,
Yeah. While I think of it, do you remember we were going down one of those alleyways where there's markets everywhere, and I dropped into a bloke's place, and he picked up straight away that I was Australian by my accent. He would have been about 55 or 58, I reckon, not quite 60. And he said that he told me that he had, when he was a little boy during World War II, his father had been supplying food to the Australian soldiers in Palestine. And when I came back, I checked out that the West Australian 2nd 14th, who had trained down at Woodman, down at Point Walter, where I used to live as a little kid, I used to see them train. They had fought in Tobruk, and then they had fought in New Guinea, I think. No, after Tobruk, they went to Palestine for a breather. And, but first of all, I thought this old guy was just trying to sell me something,
Because he was like a market guy.
Yeah. And he came out and he showed me the photograph of himself with an Australian hat on, army hat on. And then when I realised that, the 2nd 14th had actually been there, they were all West Australians, I believed him. I just thought that was a coincidence.
Yeah.
I just happened to go into, these shops all had arches over them, little arches. And God knows what was out the back there.
Yeah.
But it was the genuine article. He actually gave me his little card. I've still got it somewhere.
Still got it, yeah. And if people see the shots that are going to go up in the show notes for this podcast, he's the guy that's pointing you in directions because he helped you get.
Yeah, that's right.
He gave you the direction.
Yeah.
And it's a really cool scene where he's kind of like, you guys are chatting and he introduced to his son and all this kind of thing.
That's right.
And you're like, well, I'm trying to get to wherever we were trying to go. I can't remember. And you were like, and he's like, yes, you go down to the left and down to the right and then up the hill. And he's like really good at
of all the guys to choose in Jerusalem, he was the one who knew the Aussie soldiers.
Yeah. Yeah, because he got up out of his chair because he was sitting there. He was like a boss, wasn't he? He was kind of commanding people around.
That's right.
And then as soon as he heard that you're Australian, he's like, oh, great friends of the Australians, stood up, shook your hand,
Yeah, I showed you. This is bloke's just trying to suck me in, but here's a genuine article. What's against coincidence being inconspicuous?
Yeah. Do you remember seeing the Wailing Wall? The wall?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that was quite a sight, wasn't it?
All the people.
Yeah, the bowing. It's quite an intense religion, that one, isn't it?
I went into one of their prayer rooms just to have a look around, and there were a whole lot of them with the ones with the rings.
Orthodox, yeah.
And the guy very kindly came up to me and said, sir, I don't think this is the place for you. So I said, all right, I'll see you later.
Yeah,
I just thought I'd come in. It's a place of prayer just to show them,
Yeah, well, we were in that is the holiest place for Jewish people, isn't it? Because that was against the wall, and then the room off to the side, you slide along the wall, go into that. And it was quite deep. It was kind of almost like a cave kind of system with a room. And we went right to the end. And so you probably couldn't have got deeper into the Jewish religion of the most fervent, there was guys there crying, it really was.
Do you know the history of the Wailing Wall? What it wasn't the original temple that the Romans destroyed in 70 AD. They had a massive temple.
Yeah.
Dedicated to God. Yeah. And that was what was left of it. Yeah.
I'm glad Catholicism wasn't that intense.
Oh, yeah. Couldn't have been.
I mean, I think Australian Catholicism is even more relaxed than other Catholicism, but it's pretty chill.
It should be. I was very interested. The old Jews worked out so many laws that unless you could read, you'd never get them. If you wanted a sin forgiven, there were 642 boxes you had to tick off. All Jesus said was, I forgive you.
Yeah, we had 10 rules. 10 rules, and you could make it up at the end if you went to confession right before you died.
It's just so simple.
Yeah.
It was so funny. I was listening on the radio some time ago to part of the words I use, but these people who use black magic and magic for this, that, and the other, and the incantations could go on for hours for something, whereas Christ just simply said, "This is my body.
Yeah.
This is my blood." Simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that anyone can have a go. Anyway, I'll shut up. Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay. So that, yeah, I mean, that was a significant trip. And what happened? I mean, like I said at the start, we skated in. That was the last opportunity to really leave the country for 3 years or so when COVID hit. And we didn't see that coming, did we? There was no inkling of that when we were over.
No.
Nothing. Yeah.
I nearly put that off for the next year. I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah.
I nearly put my Jubilee off for you, but it's
yeah. So we've got a lot of people to thank for that trip. You know, I think Brother Robert for putting us up in his Notre Dame connections. We've got Jonathan Huston for providing the photo and the inspiration, all that. David McFadden for providing the funding for you. The Old Boys Association for providing the funding for me and the creation of a film.
Yeah. The Christian Brothers for giving me the all clear to go.
Yeah.
And then the old boys, a couple of old boys gave us some money to stay in Crete.
Yeah.
For 3 years 3 weeks to check out where the West Australians did their fighting, the Australian soldiers.
Yeah.
So memorials there.
Yeah.
Crete, what a place.
Because that was the that's kind of the spirit that you're talking about. The Australian, because there's a lot of synergies there between the warrior's spirit, the people going off to battle, being a man, Aquinas kids, you know, like there's a lot of things related there that is your interest, right?
I guess one of the things about soldiers and battles, etc. I mean, I'm not saying everyone should rush off to war, but life is a warfare. I think it says somewhere in the Bible or something, you have your ups and downs. If you like, I'd say life is a cricket match. You know, your best mate can drop a catch. You can get run out by your best mate. You can get clean bowled. The umpire can give you a rotten decision, but you still love the game. And life is a warfare. You've got the good things that happen, the bad things that happen, etc. But I think there's a lot in the old human nature that say if you we're on a journey and we never reach the end. That's what life's about, except when we die and then we go to our end. But our whole life is a journey, never arriving. But the worst thing to think is that I'm there at last, I've got it. No. And you don't want it that way. I guess that's one of the things I have become fascinated with scientists who are studying the universe. I don't think they want to say God made it yet because we want to find out how he made it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you like. Or we just want to say, what is there? Don't give us the answer too soon.
Yeah. What are the rules of the game? What are the rules that are put in place?
When I go out to bat, I don't want to know straight away how many I've got to make.
Yeah.
15 or 100 or whatever. No, I don't want that.
Yeah.
I want to live at the present and take it on as part of the journey.
Yeah.
As you get a bit older, you certainly need time to reflect. Also, you have plenty of times when you've got your regrets, but that's life. Every time I think about a regret that I had, oh, God, that was terrible what I did. I just offer it to God and say, okay, use that as a prayer for the benefit of the boys. See you later and see your hands down.
Yeah.
Off I go. That's where faith comes in handy. Yeah.
To wrap up, can we talk about the last scene where you were searching at the graveyard in Beersheba? So we'd located Beersheba. We got some information from Iran Tirosh, the historian, famous Israeli historian. You know, we had the map.
That was a coup, by the way. Well done.
Thank you. Producer Coup. He was a good man, wasn't he?
He was.
Very knowledgeable. Very kind as well. Very gentle.
Yes,
you know? Yeah. And I think the world needs to remember that when, and that's one of the things about traveling is you get to see how the world really is. Because really when you're sitting on your couch watching the news, you know, and you're thinking, Israel's this, Russia's that, blah, you know, all the enemies you're really watching a very filtered, very controlled message. So my thought was, let's go to that country and let's see, when China was copping obviously they've got their government's got a horrendous human rights record. And, there's lots of things about that, but I found China is probably to be some of the most hospitable people I've ever met in my life. They don't have manners in the language, there's not a please and thank you. So it seems a bit abrupt, but people are buying your food, showing you around. I'm so happy that you're here in China, we're just good people. And the Israel-Palestine thing, that is mental. What's happening to the Palestinians and the government. And we're going into those camps. We're seeing the places when we're over there. We're talking to the people. We're finding out all this stuff that's happened. They've been chucked out of their house. And what that government's doing is just horrendous and has been doing it for 50 years or whatever like that. The displacement of those people.
Yeah.
But the people on the street, like Iran, like the old man, all those people that we're meeting, whether they're Arabic, whether they're, Islamic, they were awesome, weren't they? Yeah. Coolest, nicest people. Yeah. Just happy.
One of the things that struck me too, in a way, getting back to the army, is the people in Crete and even Palestine, etc., how astounded they are and respectful they are that the Australian troops came from so far away to help them in their hour of need. When the Germans came to take over, now the Aussies were there, they didn't have enough equipment, they had to surrender at the end. But anywhere I went, I almost got put in there for free and hugged. That's Australian. And when they tell their kids, every year at school, they said, you Australians, number one, you came from so far away to help us in our hour of need. Number two, you were all voluntary. All the other countries are compulsory. You must join up.
Yeah.
You were volunteers and you came to help us.
Mm.
They've got good memories, and that's what blows them away.
Yeah. Yeah, I really hope that Australia can continue. You're looking at what Australian values are on the world stage of my generation and generations at large. And I'm hoping that it's more than getting a mullet, getting a sleeve tattoo and going to Bali. I hope that it's going to be more than that.
Well, it's very interesting when the floods came up there in the eastern states, the number of people who came to the rescue to help others. There's a lot of generosity in Aussies.
Yeah.
You take at our place, Dr. Andrew Carnier, was he there when you were there?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, well, he's Ukrainian Catholic, but he has relations in the Ukraine. He organised 180 tea chests of winter clothes to send over to the Ukrainian people. And he got the Aquinas families, other families, that people were so generous with jumpers and this, that, and the other. Some month, knit something made about $150 or something. It all got there for Christmas. And Qatar, they did some deal with them. When they leave us Perth, within 48 hours at the boundary of the Polish boundary between Poland and the Ukraine.
Yeah.
And the feedback that's been coming back, each box has got a big kangaroo on it, the colours of Ukraine, yellow and blue. And people are just sending stuff back saying, thank you, Australia, for giving us hope.
That's awesome.
I just think we've got so much generosity around here.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. We saw, I was just chilling on a bus. We're going between Kenya and Uganda because there was an election. We had to get out of Kenya. And it was a bit wild. And we're in the middle of nowhere, literally the middle of nowhere in rural Kenya, right? And I'm sort of just looking out the window thinking, and it's kind of like tea and bananas and it's all sorts of plantations. This dude's walking along the street. As the bus goes past, I'm looking at this guy's walking along the street in a Dockers jersey, Fremantle Dockers. I was like, whoa.
Was he white or black?
No, he was a Kenyan. He was like, just he had no shoes on. He was just a Kenyan farmer. And we're not in Nairobi. We're in the middle of nowhere. And he's wearing a Dockers jersey. Yeah, I was like, what the hell? And it must have been that people donated clothes. Somebody from Fremantle donated some clothes, went over there. This guy picked it up from the stall or whatever. He started not knowing what the purple and the big anchor meant or anything. And I was like, I sort of thought exactly the quality you're talking about. People have donated something, it's gone to help somebody, and it's his favorite jersey. You know,
Gotcha.
just walking past.
It's extraordinary.
Yeah.
And she was
Fantastic. All right, Brother Cleary, I think